Into politics right now, Hillary Clinton going after Republicans for not acting on President Obama's Supreme Court pick, blaming the party for creating, quote, extremist candidates during a speech at the University of Wisconsin-Madison yesterday.
The same obstructionism that we've seen from Republicans since the beginning of the Obama administration, the same disregard for the rule of law that's given rise to the extremist candidacies of Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. It's corroding our democracy, and it has to stop.
Joining us right now is Fox News analyst and host of MediaBuzz, Howard Kurtz. Howie, good to see you.
Great to be here.
Yeah, it's interesting that she brings up the rule of law.
This is the first...
Ignoring the rule of law.
The first page in the Hillary playbook. Well, look what a bank shot this was. She gets to hug President Obama by embracing his Supreme Court pick. She gets to remind people that if the Republicans win, they get probably more Supreme Court picks. And she gets to not only paint the Republicans as extremists for not acting on Merrick Garland's nomination, but she gets to basically say, and this you're going to hear again and again in this campaign, that it's not just Donald Trump, that Donald Trump is representative of a Republican Party that wants to block everything President Obama does.
But, I mean, was there any pushback for her saying ignoring the rule of law, given the obvious elephant in the room that she completely ignored the rule of law by having her own server in her basement?
I think smart media analysts might point that out, that this is not necessarily the best ground for her to stand on. You're right, that's a phrase that everybody should have jumped on, and it seems to have just flown into the ether.
Right.
Howie, it seems to me that the only time you could use the word extreme is when describing Republicans, mostly with Democratic candidates, but frankly the media too. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders is a socialist. I mean, he doesn't really believe in the free market capitalist system. He's on the outside fringe of even his own Democrat Party.
That's exactly what Dominic said in the commercial break.
Yeah. Isn't the fact that we're not talking about the Democratic Party now being the progressive extreme kind of silly, that Hillary just gets away with, as you called it very correctly, the same old playbook, just because she disagrees with Republicans, they're extreme, but meanwhile, she's embracing socialist policies.
I think there's a lot less focus on Bernie Sanders' socialist philosophy. He would say he does support free market capitalism because nobody thinks he's going to win the Democratic nomination. Very different situation on the Republican side, where the Republican Party itself has been ruptured over Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, neither of whom the establishment wanted. And so, of course, Democrats are going to pick up on that.
But even if Bernie Sanders per se doesn't win the nomination, he's won the argument, right? I mean, Hillary Clinton has essentially shifted very affirmatively to the left, embracing much more of the Sanders socialism than I think she would have had he not been into the race. So on some level,
about that.
So on some level, they are, as a party, the Democrats, becoming at least ideologically more extreme, which will have implications on policy. Whereas, yeah, sure, Donald Trump's behavior, his bombast, that's a bit extreme. You could say Ted Cruz on some social issues might be, in the eyes of Democrats, extreme. But they're still kind of traditional Republican candidates.
Well, Donald Trump, I don't think fits my definition of a traditional Republican candidate. That's why he's blown up this entire campaign. And look, for example, you know, remember how all the journalists, when he proposed a temporary ban on Muslims entering the U.S., said, he's gone too far, this is going to end his campaign, he's finally done it. Well, there's a new poll out by Morning Consult showing half of Americans, of all Americans, support that 71% of Republicans. So he, whether you agree or not, is more in tune with the electorate on this particular issue.
Yeah. President Obama laying some of the blame on the tone of the presidential campaign right on journalists.
Yeah.
Said you're part of the problem.
It's all our fault. This is a song that President Obama has been singing for some time, that the media are polarizing, and he has half a point on this. Media are much more polarizing, and people do seek out opinions that match their own, but he has a giant megaphone, and he can command the world's attention anytime, and so he doesn't have to complain. Sometimes it edges over into whining about all the conservative media that distorting what I have to say. But I guess he can go out and do that next year as a private citizen.
Pictures speak louder than words, actually, and I think some of those pictures from his trip to Cuba and Argentina really...
You don't like the tango?
Just said it all, didn't it?
Well, I mean, it's true. You know, I mean, you've got Brussels under attack, and then you see President Obama at a baseball game doing the wave with Castro.
Americans murdered.
And then the next day, him doing the tango in Argentina.
For me, worse than those horrible optics was the fact that he devoted 51 seconds to the Belgian bombings when he first spoke about it, then pivoted back to his prepared speech. That was tone deaf.
So, I mean, to blame the media and not take any responsibility. Remember after the State of the Union, he said, my one regret is not bringing people together. Do you think maybe it has a little to do with, like, all of the executive orders or pointing fingers at the Republicans, that he was unable to bring people together?
Oh, anybody who says that this president, despite his rhetoric, didn't play a role in polarizing the country country has missed what has gone on for the last 8 years. Media should take some responsibility, but there's plenty of blame to go around.
And he's taken a page from Trump's playbook, actually just blaming the MSM, mainstream media.
Yeah.
Everybody hates us.
Howie, thank you.
Good to see
Howard
you.
Kurtz there.